in general conversation. I don't know, because we're ready for the 80s, ready for the 80s, ready for the time of my life.
I feel like rather than singing every time we go live, we should just get an intro song.
Yeah, but you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, all right.
You know, we had an intro for a while. The problem when you do an intro is YouTube sometimes grabs it, or sometimes the podcast catchers grab it and they go, oh no, you don't have the rights to it. And then the back end work on it is so much work to get it released. And then the other issue is, if you have music or video or anything, somebody can put a copyright claim on it, whether or not they have the copyright to the video or the music that they're putting the copyright claim on. And then they get the YouTube bucks, which for us probably gets them, those little plastic rings out of a gumball machine every couple of months.
Yeah. 25
We're
cents a
rolling.
year, baby. Rolling in
If that.
After taxes we owe.
Yeah. And end up paying 40% of it back: self-employment taxes, income taxes.
Yeah. So, how's it going, John? Another week. What's going on?
Another week. Like I said, told you before the show, had a small car snafu. Serpentine belt broke, but what do you expect? Serpentine belts, 180,000 miles. I didn't tell you the funny thing on that car, though. And the service manager at the place I took it to claimed he had never seen anything before. And I'll be honest, I hadn't seen it before, but we know I don't really work on a lot of late models. But the 2013 to the 2018 Ford Fiesta, it's the only thing I looked up, with the 1.6 liter motor, they don't use a belt tensioner. The
Really?
serpentine belt is a stretch belt. And they have a little tool that goes on the pulley, and you put the belt on this little tool and you rotate the engine and the belt, and it kind of slides and stretches the belt. And then when you get it around the pulley and it falls out from under the belt snaps into place.
Wow. Okay. That's a new one.
Makes 0 sense for somebody fixing a car. I imagine it probably simplifies building of the engines in the factory by robots. Tremendous, just click, 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 click. But they actually had to send out to get the biggest delay in the whole thing was they had to send out to get the little tool to roll the belt on the pulley. But
and actually, that is a way. That's a way that the big car companies have gone in a direction where there's all these specialty tools that dealerships have to buy, and it makes people more money because you got to buy the special tools, so the tool manufacturer gets money, the company, the auto manufacturer gets money, and then the dealership has to pass on costs to the owner. I still remember, if you remember, I don't remember what year, it was around 2014, 2015, when Ford trucks came out with the all aluminum, bedsides, box, all that, everything became all aluminum.
Yep.
And one of my dad's clients for his restoration shop had one of those new trucks. It got damaged. He took it to the Ford dealership in the little towns that we live in, where I grew up, and because that dealership, of course, really didn't make sense financially for them to buy the toolkit, the body tools to fix that aluminum. They had to ship his truck to one of the bigger cities, have it repaired there, and then shipped it back. because of the specialty tools that had to be used. And, you know, I mean, when my dad was doing, you know, body work at GM dealerships, he'd come home I remember he'd come home frustrated because he had to call the Snap-on guy so he could get a specialty tool because GM changed something and they have a new specialty tool out that I got to spend more money on.
Oh, I mean, you look at it with, I guess, everything. I mean, I bought, and I was told it was one of the last in Snap-on's inventory, clutch head screwdrivers. I've got a complete set of clutch head screwdrivers because I was working on a late 40s GM car because, you know, it's kind of a figure 8 type screw, but you had to have it to disassemble and reassemble some of the trim on that car. And, you know, we went to Phillips screws. And I mean, we started with flathead screws and everything on the new Maverick, and well, basically most Fords are Torx, Torx head screws, you know, T15, T35, T40, stuff like that was on, I remember on our 95 Jeep, we went to that. So it's always buying new tools to update for the new fasteners. And like you said, it's just it's one of the frustrating things. Why is this Torx better than even just a hex screw? Yeah, okay, maybe the robot holds on to it better, or like you said, these little tools get frustrating. But like I said, it worked out well for me. The belt broke about 2 miles. Well, my next stop on my route yesterday, and my final one was about 3 miles away when the belt broke, and I hoped I could limp to that, and then I figured I'd just leave it in the parking lot and go deal with the car the next day or something. But it wasn't going to do that, and I pulled into a grocery store parking lot, and I looked, and I go, wait, there was a repair center in the same parking lot that just opened a couple of months ago. Didn't know it was there. Pulled in. Left the car running, popped the hood. Yep, there's no more belt. And the guy came over and said, what's going on? And I told him, and he goes, well, we can get it in. So he got it in, and I walked a mile up the road and did the audit that I needed to do, walked a mile back, hung out in the showroom for a little bit, and then they got the car all put together at what I thought was, I was expecting to pay twice what they charged. Shop rate was $149 an hour, and I kind of figured they would bilk me a little bit, but no, treated me really well. Everything. Like I said, there's a small little coolant leak after the work was done that I discovered today. It's right there where the belt would have been, where they would have been working to replace the belt, but I'm sure they hit the fitting and they cracked the fitting, but the fitting's got 180,000 miles on it. So I'm not going to hold them liable for breaking it. I am going to run it up to them and let them replace that line because it looks like a little bit more work because it drops down behind the back of the motor and stuff. But, so like I said, that was the excitement for me this week. So,
but car didn't leave. Go. Oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
I would say car didn't leave me stranded, so it's not quite to the point of me replacing it. If it would have broke 4 miles out and I would have had to walk a mile with it on the side of the road, then we probably would be talking about replacing it.
Yeah. This is why I like the early stuff. I don't need too many, there's not a lot of specialty tools for early cars, and they're easy to fix. And actually, in a conversation at work today, somebody was talking about a car they used to have long ago, and they said, he's like, I reached over and turned the headlight switch on one night, and the whole thing shorted out and started on fire. And my comment was, wait, your headlights aren't supposed to be made of fire? It's just, I thought when you turned them on, they were nice little acetylene.
See, he's looking at the negative in that situation. The nice thing about the headlight switch shorting out, I'm sure the headlights didn't work at that point, but the fire would have illuminated the road for him to get somewhere.
See, exactly.
You got to look at the positive in every.
Well, I mean, he was looking.
Situation.
He was looking at the positive and the negative coming together.
Yes.
Really, what happened? He just,
I guess.
oh, Jason, what car was it? What car? That's what he asks. What car was it? I don't remember what he said. I think he said it was maybe a Volvo, but I will add context to the story. It turns out he did not know it at the time, but after they figured out why it shorted, it was because it was a flood car that no one admitted to it having been in a flood. So everything was corroded and shorting out.
Yeah.
Not the point of the story, Jason. The point of the story was me talking about headlights that are made from fire.
Fire's cool. Two little yellow guys used to tell me that on MTV all the time.
Some guy on a TV show used to tell me about why fire is dangerous and also why like sticking forks in electrical sockets isn't a good idea. Yeah, I think his name was Fire Marshal Bill. Yeah.
I thought it was Bill hung out on Capitol Hill.
No.
I saw a short.
He's just Bill.
I saw a short on one of the social medias today, and brilliant idea. And I watched it and I go, I kind of like that. And then I realized why they said, who the heck came up with this? And it's a little wall safe that looks like a power socket. But what you do is you take your key and you stick it in the socket, and then you angle the key, and then you pull backwards, and that removes the faceplate. And then you take the key and you unlock it. And I honestly probably would do the same damn thing that the punchline of the joke was. I'd take my key and I'd forget what socket it goes into. And yeah, sometimes I do stupid stuff like that.
No, what's going to be really funny is every burglar that sees that video that now is going to go into every house and test outlets to see if they're safe. It's just, a burglar just.
Well, I was going to use that to lead into, I don't know which way we want to lead. Well, we did talk, and it might have been the last episode. If not, it was maybe 2 episodes. We were talking about cars that you could get a couple 100,000 miles out of. And we spoke real highly of Ford GM vehicles. I mean, out of a list of 15, 4 GMs made it. Granted, they were the Suburban, the Yukon XL, the Yukon, and the Tahoe, which are all the same damn truck. But I just kind of found it funny then that the news dropped a couple days ago about the General Motors 6.2 liter V8 engine recall on, I've heard 600,000 to 900,000 21 through 24 trucks and SUVs. So I guess I would probably not recommend buying one of those to potentially go 300,000 miles. But then again, if you've got like a 21 that's got 200,000 miles on it and it's affected by this recall, maybe you get a new motor and then maybe you got a 500,000 mile truck. Well,
now going back to the list we talked about, though, as I recall, wasn't the GMC Yukon, the Chevy Tahoe, weren't those the ones listed the 5.3 engine though, not the 6.2?
Yeah,
so we should clarify that.
Yeah, I believe they were the 5.3. So be sure to listen closely and watch closely, because here I've got 600,000 trucks. Here I got 721,000 trucks, and the next article's got 861,000 trucks. That's a lot of freaking cars.
It's a lot. Well, it's a lot of engines. That's what it comes down to. A lot of engines.
Now I wonder,
because they've already built, 900,000 bad engines. Now they've got to build 900,000 good engines.
Yeah, I guess there was a research into a class action lawsuit, which obviously is probably for not now, um, because General Motors a long time ago stopped putting engine or serial numbers on engines because of the Corvettes. So you're not going to really have a depreciation on your vehicle, or would you have a depreciation on your vehicle because General Motors replaced the engine? But it's a mess, and who pays for it? I mean, does the engine manufacturer for GM pay for it? Who's ever assembling them? Whoever machining the cranks or the rods, which I still think it's more of a crank problem other than a rod problem. Or is that actually all handled internally by General Motors and they don't sub out those parts and General Motors has to eat it?
Well, my guess is somebody's going to pay, probably partially the whoever was manufacturing and machining the parts, but GM's also going to probably write quite a bit of that off as a loss to the company. So there's magical ways to make that money, work for the company.
Now, there's always ways to make the money go poof. Mm-hmm. Sometimes more fun than others. Let's talk to the former CEO of Kohl's. I saw that headline a little bit ago.
But yeah, I mean, I do want to make sure that we clarify that it is the 6.2, the 6.2 liter, not the 5.3 that's the issue, which is the one that was on the list. And honestly, that 5.3 block has been a solid engine for many, many, many years. And I feel like it's always when they try to go to these bigger engines, that it always seems like everybody says the bigger engine there's problems. Like it seems like anytime they step out of, that 5.3 kind of size of engine that they have, GM has very well, created a great engine, and they keep moving around out of it and seem to always have problems when they do.
Well, I think could it be that these engines get put in vehicles that are stressed more than the vehicles that get the 5.3? I mean, if I'm buying a 2500 or 3500 Silverado Sierra, I'm probably going to work it a little bit harder, and it's going to come with the 6.2 more than your 5.3 is going to be more of a 1500, 2500.
Well, wasn't this recall mostly for the Suburban line, the Yukons, the Tahoes? I don't remember where the trucks on there. I guess it would be all 6.2 engines, but that theory doesn't hold true because the SUV line.
You're right. It's all light duty. Escalade ESV, Silverado 1500, Tahoe, Suburban, Sierra 1500, Yukon, and Yukon XL. So it's all the lighter duty. Maybe it's because they didn't work the motors hard enough.
They didn't break them in hard enough. Yeah, I didn't get on them. Go out there, pull more than the tow capacity is supposed to. Make the back end squat.
Yeah, but if you're tired of your 6.2 or all these gasoline motors, I do believe the 8 liter from General Motors was a pretty successful motor, even though it had a drinking problem. But if you're tired of that, you could always look at the new thing and just go all electric with your pickup truck, and you don't have to buy a Cybertruck anymore or a Ford Lightning and spend $100,000 on your electric truck.
Oh, don't forget the Chevrolet Silverado E.
Yeah, that's still going to be, that's still $100,000, or the Hummer EV, which I kind of like the new Hummer EV. I don't know why. I kind of wouldn't buy one, but I kind of like it. But I mean, I don't know if you can actually buy it on Amazon, but it's like Musk is really has it in or Bezos really has it in for Musk this week, because he announced this week that he's he just did a rocket launch and put 48 satellites into space with his penis rockets as a competitor to SpaceX. I can't remember Musk's what's Bezos rocket company called.
The Blue Origin. Blue Origin.
Yeah, Blue Origin. Yeah, so he's competing there, and then he comes out with the Slate, which there's a little picture of behind me, which sells for roughly about the wholesale price of a Cybertruck before tax incentives. But it really got me thinking about this truck. When I first saw it, $50, you get your name on the list. It's $20,000 after federal tax incentives, because we all know that these $8,000, $8,500 tax credits are guaranteed through 2027, said sarcastically.
Mm-hmm.
So Bezos comes out, I guess, we'll just say the Slate. Slate comes out with this truck. So base price is $28,200 and something. And then when you add your tax incentives, it comes in right at $20,000 because of the size of the battery and because it's made. No, wait, it's not made in America. I believe it's going to be made in like a former Yugoslavia or something. I can't remember where they're building this thing, but it's not in the U.S.
That's interesting.
So is this thing going to be subject to tariffs if they still exist when it gets here as a 27 and late 26, which then is going to bump the price back up? But how Spartan or how many creature comforts are you willing to do without to have a $20,000 vehicle in this market? There's very few cars you can buy for $20,000. Let's say the tax incentives are there, but would you consider this for $20,000? It's roughly 150 to 175 miles of range on a full charge. It's electric. It's small, but it's bigger than you think it is. The bed is like 4 feet wide, not 4 feet inside. The whole bed is like 4 feet wide and 5 or 5.5 feet long. The bed on my new Maverick will hold a 4x8 sheet of plywood inside the bed with the tailgate down. That's a 4.5 foot bed. Add 2 feet for that, 6.5, and then the thing hangs out a little bit. But they say you can put 24 sheets of plywood, they don't say how thick, in the bed of the Maverick and still have your bed cover on it. I just don't know if I want something as basic as the Slate. It has a speedometer, it has a push button start, it has a CVT transmission, but it has a cradle on the dashboard to put your phone in, which honestly, when I get into my car, all the entertainment, all the navigation's done through my phone. So I think it's not a big deal. I don't have the big screen, but getting into the Maverick with its 13.2 inch screen compared to I use an iPhone mini. I know Derek uses Samsung Galaxy something, but you probably have
the S24. Yeah.
You probably have a 6-inch screen or something on that. I have a 4.5-inch screen on mine because it's a mini. When I'm in my Fiesta, that's what I use because I've got the stupid Sync 1 system, which Ford should have never, ever put in a car. Personal opinion. So I have to use the phone, and the screen's a little bit too small. So it'd be nice to have a little bit bigger screen to work off of, but I guess you could say the Slate comes with CarPlay and Android Auto because you actually use the phone to manage your navigation and your infotainment, etc. You could probably
and don't forget shopping on Amazon. while you're driving.
Yes, and you could probably watch YouTube. YouTube or Amazon Prime while you're driving, which the Maverick has YouTube, but it doesn't function if the vehicle's not in park. Crank windows, which seems so funny that a electric truck has manual windows.
Well, I mean, I'm going to jump in there because not really, because that's saving your battery life. If you were rolling your windows up and down with you're using electricity. So technically, you could gain range because you're not using that electricity on creature comforts.
Yeah, but is the optional SUV conversion kit appealing at all to you? Well, basically, they're selling you know,
so here's my thing, right? Number one, I think the styling is kind of meh on the thing, but I saw a picture of the SUV conversion or whatever, and as soon as that goes on, this thing's just a miniature Bronco.
Yeah,
I mean, it has almost the same body lines as the Ford Bronco, the new one. The what's the little one? The Ford Bronco Sport, right?
Ford Bronco Sport. No, I think it has actually more of the body lines of the big Bronco. But if you look at this, it has, and you got to remember Amazon's electric car history. It reminds me a little bit of the Amazon delivery vans, which, if you remember, are actually a Rivian product. They were designed, and I believe they're the first 600,000 or something were sold by Rivian. It's one of the things that really helped keep Rivian alive. And it reminds me a little bit of the Rivian. I mean, you've got to think a little bit creatively because it doesn't have the funky oval Rivian headlights, but it reminds me a lot of the R1S, the SUV Rivian, when it's in the SUV configuration. And it reminds me a lot of the R1T when it's in the pickup truck configuration, if the Rivian had the slightly different headlights and was available in a two-door and much smaller. So, but the question is, I just bought up, the Maverick as basically, well, it's a fourth vehicle in the driveway, but as a third vehicle. I've got my Mini for fun. I've got my Fiesta for work. We've got the Camry for moving 4 people or family things. But I bought the Maverick to do truck things because it was inexpensive. And to be honest, the sticker price, actually the price out the door on the Maverick was less than the full price on the Slate. And my Maverick came with auto braking, outside mirrors, 4 power windows, full infotainment system, bed that will hold a 4x8 sheet piece of plywood. And I'm going, at what point do you is it worth it? Is the extra feature, say, on the Maverick, which is one of the cheapest cars on the market right now, worth $8,000 more than the Slate after tax incentives? If you want to say, forget if the tax incentives go away, which do you buy? The dead base Slate, or would you buy a Maverick, or would you consider buying a 1 or 2 year old Colorado or Nissan? Or you'll never touch a Toyota for under 30 grand that's got less than 150,000 miles. But
well, I guess, I think, and I'm trying to figure out how to put this out correctly, but I think there are a lot of people probably out there that would pay, and maybe, if this really comes to production and sale and all of that, I think there are people out there that probably will pay for this vehicle. And it might not be the people we think that it's going to be, but I think there are a lot of people looking to buy new cars that are fed up with the amount of technology in cars and the amount of electronics and everything that are in cars. And they want a car that is stripped down to a little more basic setup. Now, this is stripped way down, but I think there is a demographic out there that will actually find this vehicle interesting because it does lack so much technology. And there are people out there that want that. In a modern car, right? I mean, because a lot of us that have old cars, part of the reason we have them is they're fun to drive because they're basic and they don't have a lot of technology, but you also have to know how to drive them. There's people that don't want that, like, the difficulties of driving early cars. So I think this might wind up, or this idea might wind up fitting into a certain demographic of people that are looking to buy new cars.
Yeah, I'm trying to find what my initial post was, because it's similar to what you said. This is a friend of mine. He's had his Teslas, he's had his Rivians. He's got something else on order now. He just sold his Rivian because he's got something else on the way, and he really wants a Rivian R3 when that little fun thing comes out. But my response to him is, I just picked up a 25 Maverick hybrid, mainly to use as a small wheelbarrow. That's what I called it. This truck might even fit that need a touch better. A $20,000 truck that isn't that big for work things around the house. Heck, a 2000 series, John Deere garden tractor with a bucket in that can cost that much, or an or zero turn mower can cost that much. I think there is a niche for this thing. And I said, I might have to get a place in line. And that's kind of what I think it is. It's going to be, it's like a micro truck. It'll be bought as for wealthier people to use around the ranch, around larger pieces of property, businesses that don't travel that far away from their home base, because it kind of makes financial sense. You go do your things around the farm, you go back, plug it in, charge it. You never have to worry about putting gas in it. Like I said, it doesn't cost that much more than buying a 2210 John Deere with a bucket on the front of it. I think last time I priced those, they were coming in about 16, and that was 9 years ago. So if you want a wheelbarrow, which is what, like I said, I wanted the Maverick for. I just wanted to haul a few things when needed. That there is a niche for it. As a big daily consumer type vehicle, I think it's got a long way to go, but you got to start somewhere. Tesla started with a very niche product in the Roadster, and look at where they are now. Big, massive truck, some of the fastest cars on the planet, some of the fastest depreciating cars on the planet. So I don't think it's a bad thing. And I guess we haven't, none of our comparisons even allude to the International Scout, which is due to arrive, I think, any month now at a lot more money. Oh, your mic went away, Derek. Are you muted, or? Derek's giving us hold on a second. I'm plugging myself back in. Nope, still not here. So that's kind of my thinking on the Slate. There's a niche for it. Is it a great value? I think when you really sit down and you analyze everything, it might not be as good of a value as you thought it was. I mean, even when I was looking for my new truck, I came across a 130,000 mile 2011 Toyota Tacoma. It was a 2012. Actually, one of Will's friends had for sale through the autocross thing, and only wanted 11 grand for it. And so you can get into. You've got to really want this thing. It's really got to fit where your needs are. But as anything technology wise, we'll see where it goes. And I'm always welcoming any new innovation, any new thinking into the automotive hobby. Are you back yet, Derek? Or
am I back? Check it.
Yep.
Can you hear?
You are back.
Oh,
actually, you're back
fantastic.
Better than you were.
All right. Well, welcome back. Thank you. So what I was trying to say was, if our friends Elon and Jeff would like someone to do a comparison of the two vehicles, all they need to do is send, press vehicles to No Driving Gloves, Derek and John, and Dave. Unfortunately, Dave couldn't join us tonight. And we'll be happy to do our comparative tests on those two vehicles and give everyone our feedback.
I've heard some recent discussion on the Cybertruck, and those conversations have led me to believe that the interior material quality between the Cybertruck and the Slate might not differ that much.
Interesting. I've seen a lot. I've stood next to a couple Cybertrucks. I have not even seen the interior other than through windows. I haven't looked inside of one. I haven't ridden in one. I probably need to. It's only right. I think in automotive history, the Cybertruck story is going to be relevant and important. So I probably should take the time to actually make that happen.
Yeah, and like I said, that's one of the reasons I purchased what I purchased recently, is because I'm a big proponent, especially after I think our conversation with Matt Farah 5 years ago, and then some of his more recent conversations. As much as I can pick on Matt, at times he's a very intelligent person, and knows what he's talking about. And I think hybrid is our transition. Now, if the government keeps forcing electricity down our throat, it is absolutely what we need to do for transitional vehicles to get Americans accustomed to electric vehicles. Because I don't have any range anxiety, but I do have a little thing that I like to see how much electric I can use. And unless I'm getting on the interstate or cruising somewhere actually, no, I drove out to the lake last weekend in the Maverick, which is about 25 miles away, on a 4-lane divided highway with a speed limit of 65 miles an hour for a portion of it. And I did, on the way out there, 16.8 of those miles all electric. So I only drove 8 miles with gasoline. On the way back at night, I wasn't quite as careful, but I drove, I think it was 14.7 of those miles all electric and 10 of those gas, which it's seamless. I don't even know it. I officially picked the truck up on, let me think here, I took it home with me on the 5th. Went back to the dealership on the 12th. I officially bought the truck on the 12th. And they filled it up with gas. I have put almost 300 miles on the odometer since then. And my gas tank still shows 280 miles distance to empty. So I'm looking at least a 600 mile, and that's just below a half a tank. I'm probably looking at a 600 or 700 mile gas per tank, or or 600 mile range per tank. And that's what a lot of Maverick owners see. And I'm not intentionally hypermiling all the time. I do sometimes. Like if I got to run up to Walmart down the street 3 miles away, I want to try to do it as much electric as possible. 2.7 is my record, so only 0.3 of it under gas. But it's a neat little challenge, a fun game, I guess. But I think hybrid's the transition. And I'll be honest, I did consider.
And I think I agree with that, John. I mean, and I think, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think we've been saying that for years as well on this show. I don't think we should not give our show credit as well. I mean, we talked about the idea that hybrids need to be the transition for many years. And it is what is going to get people comfortable to move over to the electric, because it's going to ease people into, not having range anxiety because you've still got a gas engine. And it gives the electric side of the world time to develop and become better and better and better before we make that full switch to where we have battery technology and, efficient, even more efficient electric motors and all of that to make the full electric vehicle have amazing range as well, and hopefully quick charging that takes a couple minutes, like it would to fill a gas, fill your gas tank and be off again. So, yeah, I mean, one of the guys I work with at Lane Motor Museum bought a Maverick, and we take that out every now and then, go to lunch or whatever. And it's that hybrid system is a fantastic system. As you said, John, it's seamless. You don't know when the thing is switching from one to the other, and you're just driving your vehicle with no worries.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. I always get it screwed up, but let's see here. I believe that the Maverick has, and yes, yeah, Derek's very valid. We've said hybrids are a good way to go, and we've also said we don't want this stuff crammed down our throat. If hydrogen's the way to go, which BMW has recently been pushing that they're abandoning all of their electric to go hybrid. Question is, are they doing it just to see what public reaction is, or hydrogen?
I was going to say, don't you mean hydrogen? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're abandoning all their electric to go hydrogen, and Toyota's hydrogen programs coming back into swing, and I believe Mitsubishi's got one. But the other advantage is, for most of the driving that I bought this truck to do, which is to run up to Lowe's and to run up to my soon-to-be retail store, which we'll get into in another episode. I'm looking at 6-10 mile trips that I probably can do on 50% battery. I could do it all on electric. I was saying I really considered buying a Lightning, just way too much money and way too much truck for what I needed. I needed a small truck, not a big F-150. And if I can do everything with, 50% electric, 50% gas, and, I only got to buy gas for the thing once every 6 weeks or something, I'll be completely happy with that. And part of that is it's only got a 1.1 megawatt battery as the hybrid system. It does have a 12-volt battery for all the 12-volt crap, but that's a much smaller, much lighter battery. So I'm not towing around 2,000 pounds of battery. I'm towing around a couple 100 pounds of battery. And that translates to better fuel economy and more efficient battery. I'm only supposed to be able to get up to maybe 10 miles range out of that battery. But when you use it for a couple miles and then you're a little bit gassed and then it recharges, I don't think I've ever been to a point that I've totally exhausted that battery where it had to be on gas. I just found the new gauge on the truck that kind of tells me that. But I really hate the dashboard in this. I really like the 24 dashboards better than the 25. But like I said, well, I guess my whole point to that conversation wasn't to brag about the truck, but was to say, I bought that truck for the need of a wheelbarrow, but I bought it with the drivetrain so that I could experience what technology offers right now. You can kind of say, I bought that truck for the listeners because I'm going to give you feedback on it and what I think and what problems I may or may not have. And
okay, John, rephrase it. You bought the truck as a tax write-off because you're going to talk about it on the show. So it becomes part of your business and it's a tax write-off.
Well, technically, I leased the truck because I get better tax breaks.
Hey, we all do it. I mean, Christine and I, my wife and I are in the midst of figuring that out too with the LLC. So.
But I dropped the mention about the retail store, and I just got this product in, and I think No Driving Gloves listeners will like it, and I might give a few of them away. But let's see here.
How's that? Look at that. A stack of tires.
Thermal mug.
Oh, is that what that is? I thought it was just a stack of tires.
Stainless steel insert. Supposed to keep your drinks cold for 2 hours. We might give a few of those away on the podcast. Kind of cool. It's even got little brake calipers in it. The only problem is the top looks exactly like the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Well, what you need to do is go in and paint the brake caliper on the top, red or yellow or blue, make it kind of Brembo-ish so you know what the top is.
Leave so I should sell these with a free colored Sharpie.
Yes. There we go. And, we could get it where it's a no driving glove Sharpie. So you're using a no driving glove Sharpie.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Except the new company's colors are black and gold.
I guess they're going to be gold.
So what else we got to talk about? We've got a few more minutes, or we can cut this one short. We don't have to live.
Well, I mean, I'll bring something up because I've talked about it a lot on the show every year when I attend the event. And it is one of my favorite events to attend during the year. And that is the Chattanooga Motor Car Festival. Hopefully our longtime listeners have heard me talk about it many times, that I would be gone because of it. And then the week I come back, I talk about how great it was. And it's been changing over time. They had racing for a while, and then they got rid of the racing. Issues anywhere with trying to have racing, even vintage racing, it can be very difficult. And they've been morphing it, trying to make it the best show they can. They make it very family friendly. That's what I like about it. When you're there, it's a ton of families walking around the event, seeing the cars, talking to people. I love it. They just announced earlier this week, I think within the last couple of days, that the 2025 event is going to be postponed. They are not going to hold it. They're working on some revamping of the event, and they are promising at this time that it will be back and supposedly better than ever by 2026. So any of our listeners that attend Chattanooga Motor Car Festival, that's a little bit of news that I don't know how far it's out yet, but a lot of us have gotten emails.
Well, I have
notifications, but
I have the press release from our contact at the Chattanooga Motor Car Festival.
Yeah, and if you're John and have the podcast, contact list.
Yeah. This came out April 30th, so it actually came out yesterday. The Chattanooga Motor Car Festival organizers have announced that the 25 festival will be postponed until 2026 due to continuing restructuring and expansion of the Chattanooga community and the festival's ongoing reevaluation of the dynamic family friendlies that it can offer. The festival's inaugural event was held in 2019 and has grown to include on-track competition, concerts, outstanding displays of significant automobiles, and a world-class concours d'elegance, attracting entries from around the country. We are proud of what we have accomplished in just 6 short years, said event founder Brian DeFore. We've been able to raise funds for a number of local charities, including Neuroscience Innovation Foundation. At the same time, the festival has helped bring awareness to diversity, beauty, and style that this city has to offer. As we regroup as an organization and work closely with the city of Chattanooga as it continues to expand, we thank all our sponsors, car collectors, volunteers, judges, and the Chattanooga car community for their support since the beginning. We look forward to seeing you and working with you again in 2026 at an even bigger event. Then it goes on to talk about a little bit more of the history. Let's see here, a couple more of the charities. Yeah, so that's kind of what they've said about it. So I took it as the city's doing some work downtown, and because of that, it's going to affect the festival, and the festival probably figured, let's take the year off and refocus a little bit. Derek, obviously with nonprofits, and me being with nonprofits before, every now and then you do have to take a little bit of a break and reevaluate what's going on. Granted, car festival, a concours only happens once a year, so they don't have to stay open all the time. Why they do that reevaluation, but I'm looking forward to a bigger and better event. I've always intended to go. Actually, we were invited, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Might have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, less.
To attend the Auburn Auto Auctions in Auburn, Indiana. And unfortunately, because of some personal issues with me, we couldn't make that happen. I had a death in the family earlier this month, and it's threw my April into a mess. So we weren't able to do that, but we are trying to get out there and do some. I actually have a budget set aside this year to do some traveling to shows. We've always promised it. Lots of things have changed in the last few months with me, and I'm dedicating a little bit more budget to the podcast and obviously to this new business venture of mine. Details to come. And I know Derek's a little bit in a similar situation, or he won the lottery or something lately.
So Jason just asked, will Broad Arrow not be having an auction? They usually do that as part of the Chattanooga Motor Car Festival. From what it sounds like, Jason, yeah, I think all Chattanooga Motor Car Festival activities are not happening in 2025. So no Broad Arrow auction, no anything.
Yeah, it would be pointless for them to hold an auction without the car community there, the concours community, because I think that helps bring in some of the buyers. Yes, Chattanooga does have a wealthy community, and there are wealthy surrounding. I guess it doesn't even have to be wealthy. Chattanooga has a good car community, and the car community surrounding Chattanooga would be there, but there's not as much attention without the concours and the events it brings. So not a promise. Check Broad Arrow's site, but my hunch is with Derek is that we will not see a Broad Arrow in Chattanooga. You might see an alternative location this year. I mean, it's always a risk when you miss for a year. They might go somewhere else and stay. I believe that's how the motorcycle auction ended up at Barber's, the big one that they hold with, I can't remember the name of the company that's doing that, but they ended up with an auction because somebody else canceled an event, and it was a one-time thing that has now taken place 4 times. But
very nice. So
was there
a little
anything?
bit of disappointing news, but hey, hopefully bigger, better 26, and we'll go have some fun with cars.
I don't want to comment on that one, Jason.
Yeah,
And
we're
we
talking
sure
about
as
that,
heck, we
Jason.
sure as heck hope not. But what did it say on that press release? It still was coming from the same company that has issued all the other press releases and parent company. So my hope is, and the way that Concours was founded, we did interview somebody from the Concours the first year of the Concours in 2019. We have cut back on interviews, so we don't do that as much. But I have so many exciting ones. Remind me, Derek, after the podcast, I got a interesting, almost
Hey,
begging
John,
interview request.
after the podcast, let's talk interviews.
Okay. But with that, I think we want to call it.
I think we have wrapped it for the night.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Should I say, get off your ass, burn some gas? Because all we did is talk about electrons tonight.
Yeah.
So get off your ass, plug it into the generator so you can burn some gas.
There you go.
Yeah. Because we are out.